Welcome to Beyond the Threshold, the podcast where we explore the evolving landscape of security across schools, sports, healthcare, cities, and beyond. Every episode, we dive into the challenges and innovations that shape how we protect our communities. Today's discussion is hosted by Evolv's co-founder, Anil Chitkara.
We're here today with Mike Ellenbogen, the co-founder of Evolv Technology. Mike has been in the security industry for a number of decades. Three decades, providing technology to a wide range of sectors, to the aviation sector years ago, to the various aspects of the government sector, and now to the private sector and public places where we are. Mike, I'm really interested to hear how you're thinking about technology and its impact on safety and security in next year in 2025. In 2024, we've seen gun violence continue to rage. There's a number of tragic events. Most recently, we've seen what's happened in Madison, Wisconsin with the schools. They continue on. As you look to 2025, what do you see as the landscape for safety and security?
Yeah, 2024 was a particularly challenging year for everybody, right? We were all, I think, very concerned about sort of the rising level of rage that we saw through society. We've seen it emerge in places like schools, that you just mentioned. We were certainly, a lot of us were worried about the political atmosphere around November. I think there's been a real sigh of relief that things did not happen. The worst case scenario didn't happen. But as we look forward to 25, I don't think there's been a lowering of tension. And because of that, the security industry needs to stay on our toes. Our customers are faced with the same concerns that they had in 24. You mentioned rising threats of gun violence, but security in general, right, is now, I think, at a moment of change. And what we see is AI is permeating everything. Last year, the year before, there were specialized tools that were built around AI. I think what we're going to see in 25 and past is it becomes used in the tools that we're all using every single day, whether it's your video management system or your access control system or threat detection systems like Evolv supplies. AI has become more of a feature than a product that's standalone. So as our users, as our partners think about the future, it's how does AI enable them to move toward a more proactive approach to security from a more traditional reactive approach? How do you prevent as opposed to react? And the tools are now emerging that allow professionals to do that.
As we look at 2025, gun violence will continue to be a threat. But how might it bear itself out differently? What might be dynamic about what happens in 25?
I think we were all pretty shocked by the United Healthcare shooting in New York. And I think it has changed people's perspectives around security, certainly around corporate security, right? We're seeing large companies removing the pictures of their executives from their websites, for example. So I think there's more understanding now that it can happen anywhere at any time. And this doesn't just relate to screening technology, right? We've talked about video, we've talked about access control. All of these things are the parts of the tool sets that security professionals now have available and have to consider how do they work together to address this not just rising level of threat, but there's the possibility of copycats, right? Once people see what happened in New York, does it create more ideas for more people that might be a little bit unstable looking to have an impact?
Mike, as I've talked to some security professionals in the last few weeks since the United Healthcare CEO shooting, they've been getting a lot of inquiries into protecting their executives. And one of the places they've been trying to focus on is on events and conferences where their executives might be speaking. My question is around the role of intelligence in that. And one of the things I've heard is Executive A might not have any threats against him or her, but Executive B or C on the panel might, and their intel that the Executive A has is not necessarily covering the others on the panel. So how do you think about the role of intelligence more broadly as it relates to executives and protection when they're in with other executives as well?
If there's a threat against any individual on that panel, then the security professionals responsible for the protection of that event need to make sure that the entire panel is protected. That involves potentially screening for anybody visiting that event and applying whatever intelligence might be targeting an individual, assuming that that intelligence applies to everybody on that panel.
Mike, AI really had its coming out in 2024. 2025 is going to be a very interesting year for AI. What do you see as the applications for AI in 2024, and how is that changing as we look to 2025?
Yeah, it really has been game-changing. So I've been doing this for a long time, 30 years. And we've been using computer vision and other techniques to analyze X-ray images, looking for explosives, for aviation security and things like that. We are now using machine learning or AI for weapons detection at Evolv, and it's completely game-changing. It enables capabilities that did not exist 5 years ago. And that same thought process applies across most security tools, whether it's video management, access control, intelligence gathering, web scraping, et cetera, social media monitoring. There are more and more features that are AI-enabled that can do a much better job more quickly of identifying areas of concern than we've ever been able to do in the past. And the tools that are available to developers to create like customized AI, whether it's a chatbot or machine learning algorithms for a system like the one behind us, have grown at leaps and bounds over the last few years, and make that core machine learning AI technology available to virtually every company in our industry. So the tools are now available that make AI capability available to virtually every company in our industry, every technology company in our industry. So we're starting to see more and more features that utilize machine learning, that utilize AI to automatically provide deeper insights than we've ever been able to do before. The large AI companies, right, the OpenAIs and Googles of the world, have enabled this capability that now easily flows to anybody dealing with data or video in a way that just has never been available before. So rather than having sort of customized software programs or customized capabilities that are really wrapped around AI, it's more like AI is finding its way into all the tools that we use every single day.
Machine learning's been around a long time. Security technology equipment has used machine learning for decades. You've built machines that do that. AI has changed things very recently. Like, what's different about today's AI models, and what's so much better? What's different? How do they bear themselves out in the machines themselves?
Neural networks have been around for a long time. Neural networks have been around for decades. Historically, and I'll speak for video and imaging systems, which is what I'm most familiar with, we used more classical computer vision techniques. Identify an object, identify the edges of that object, and then try to categorize or classify that object in a very rules-based approach. Modern machine learning, or convolutional neural networks, or what everybody is now referring to as AI, is fundamentally different in that it learns more like a human. And you teach it by providing it examples and training it on the examples that you want it to alert on or detect in our case, and those that you don't want it to alert on. For example, we recently introduced a fully automated X-ray system, which is the Expedite that you see behind me, and it's looking for traditional threats. It's looking for firearms, knives, IED components. When we first put it out in the field in beta form, it was alerting on a specific type of metal water flask, right? So like a metal water bottle. And by training it on lots of examples of that water bottle, we were able to enable it to ignore that particular false alarm. So over time, the system truly gets better. It truly learns. We use supervised learning, and in that we don't let it learn on its own. We collect data, we use that to inform the next version of the algorithm, and then we deploy it. In general, these tools, which are now available from some of the larger companies, right? Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, and others, democratize that capability, make it available to virtually any developer. We all have it on our desktop now, right? Microsoft Copilot sits on your desktop. That's AI enablement. You might use it to write an email, but the kid writing code is using it to facilitate kind of incorporation of AI and other capabilities into the code that winds up in the product that you're using as a security professional to monitor video and look for the guy in the red shirt who's working its way through a facility. So I call it like it's now in the water, right? It's virtually everywhere. And it's truly game-changing, and it's fundamentally different than what the industry has had available for the decades that I've been involved in security and physical security.
Good. As I look at the security landscape, as I look at security equipment, there's some of the newest equipment that's truly using AI to get better and better. And there's a lot of equipment that's been around and served the industry well that has a more traditional approach to algorithms and detection. Can you contrast those two types of equipment, and why would I want one over the other?
Sure, yeah. Nobody should be buying a brick anymore. And by a brick, I mean a piece of technology that's got embedded capability, that's not connected to the cloud, that it doesn't have the ability to be upgraded, that over time just becomes a dumb brick. The reason we want connectivity is because AI enables improvement and learning over time. As more and more data gets fed to the system, you're able to make it smarter and change its capability over time. If there's a new threat, you can actually, in our case, we would scan that new threat, add it to our database, train a new algorithm to recognize that threat, and then we can upgrade the system through the cloud remotely. That's what I mean by, a connected system that can actually grow and improve and learn over time. And they've been around for a long time. You need enough compute power in those systems to be able to be upgraded, right? To be able to handle new models, new algorithms. And you've got to have that ability to collect data, push it to the cloud, utilize that to retrain, and then push new software down. I don't know why anybody would lock into a fixed solution today when virtually all of these systems have the ability now to be upgraded and improved over time.
So, Mike, what's different about AI in 2025?
I use the term that AI is going to be in the water. What I mean by that is it's going to be part of every aspect of what we do going forward in a good way, in that we talk about these security processes rely on people, process, and technology. By utilizing the things that AI is good at, which is automating the mundane, now our people can concentrate on the things that actually add value, like the decision-making that is really important, as opposed to the day-to-day drudgery. A lot of that will be more and more automated. Processes will be automated. The technology is already automated. It's now tying these things together in a way that really leverages this deeper insight that the technology is able to provide in a way that makes the human more effective.
AI is moving from the CPU driving the algorithm on this equipment to everything else around it. The security operators that interact with it, the people that interact with it, the intelligence that feeds it, it's fundamentally changing everything around that piece of equipment itself. It's allowing the security operators to stop doing the mundane, very fatiguing aspect of it and focus on the most important decisions that they need to make on those very few people or those very few bags they need to look at more closely.
I think that's a great perspective. That's exactly right. I've tried during my career, I've tried being a security operator. It's a hard job. I've tried staring at the monitor of an X-ray machine for as long as I can tolerate it. I last about 20 minutes, and then I lose focus. The technology now can eliminate a lot of the mundane work that we've relied on security operators to do in the past, and so that they can spend their time resolving the anomalies, resolving the more difficult cases, right? They can add more value. So rather than looking at a stream of bags on a monitor, you're going to look at the one or two or three that have something in there that deserves a deeper dive. And in that way, you're making better use of the staff that you're employing in combination with smarter technology that's going to enable them to add more value to the end user.
Like virtually every company has video cameras, video management system, access control systems. They have over decades deployed security technology. Now that AI is becoming real and the benefits are real, do they need to throw all that out? Or is there another way they can integrate that into their systems?
Yeah, the industry has gone through a sea change, going from like analog cameras to IP cameras. This is not that. For anybody who's running a digital network with centralized video management system, centralized processing, there might be a need for some hardware upgrade, but in general, we're talking about the existing technology suppliers are going to be adding AI as features, right, that are going to take advantage of GPUs. And everybody's heard about NVIDIA these days. And the reason they're growing as fast as they are is because everybody is building this core capability into their products that rely on those NVIDIA GPU chips, those AI chips. It's an upgrade, but it's not a forklift upgrade.
Security operations involve a lot of processes and a lot of tasks that a host of different security professionals and operators do. How do you see AI streamlining or augmenting tasks and processes?
Yeah, it's a really interesting problem in that at one point I heard a statistic that I found kind of mind-blowing. I believe, and I'm sure I'll get the number wrong, but order of magnitude is probably right. I think the TSOs, Transportation Security Officers, TSA operators at the checkpoints, are supposed to understand and know 470-something different operating procedures for all kinds of different scenarios. I know I couldn't do that. I don't understand how somebody can be expected to know that. But if you can automate a lot of that, if you can create, for example, tools that will help those operators understand exactly what they're supposed to be doing in a given scenario, now you can make the entire system more effective. You can make those operators more effective. You can avoid some of the potential legal concerns when somebody doesn't follow an appropriate operating procedure. It's a real opportunity to streamline and kind of optimize the processes that the security operators are supposed to be following, whether they're at the airport or a school or a hospital, wherever they might be in the system.
So Mike, AI's everywhere. It's on my desktop, in my Microsoft application suite. It's on my phone. It's in my search bar. It seems to be normalizing, but there's still some concerns around it. How should companies think about concerns their employees or visitors might have about their use of AI, particularly in security?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that believe AI is going to solve many of the world's problems and it's a panacea. And there are others that think we are training our overlords for our dystopian future. So as we, as an industry, roll out machine learning and AI-enabled tools, the best thing we can do is be completely transparent with the users and with the people that will be experiencing those tools. Our visitors, our guests, our students. If we can show people exactly what these tools are doing, how they work, kind of open the curtain and reveal what's going on inside, that's going to help folks get comfortable with these new capabilities and, quite honestly, embrace them going forward. Most of them are intended and designed to provide more protections for the community, not to take away privacy, right? Not to take away individual freedoms, but you could argue to enhance privacy and individual freedoms. The easier it is to get into a ball game that you know is going to be as safe an environment as can be created, the better experience it will be, the safer experience it will be for all of us. These tools enable that. The more open we can be as an industry with those communities, the better that will serve all of us, including the communities, going forward, and the more comfortable people will be as we deploy this technology. How do you compare and contrast, right? Kind of the old school manual approach with a new AI-enabled automated approach? And I'll speak to what Evolv does. In the past, we're all used to, and we've all experienced, standing in that security line, going through the metal detector, having to take everything out of your pockets and put it in the little dog bowl that the previous person put their stuff in the dog bowl. Then there's somebody pawing through your bag. Replace that experience with one where most people are going to essentially breeze through a process, and then a few percent might get pulled aside and asked to show either what's in their bag or what might be carried on their person. Now you're talking about the lion's share of folks going into that ball game that we were just talking about, literally never breaking stride as they go from street to seat. And a few that will experience a less invasive, more professional, quicker process to make sure that they're not carrying a threat before they go in. So the overall experience for everybody is significantly better. I don't know about you, but having somebody, go through my bag or my wife's bag, it's invasive. It's personally invasive. Or for those of us who, get selected at the airport, to have somebody, run their hand up the inside of your leg until they feel resistance, that's a particularly invasive process. The more we can do as an industry to automate and minimize the amount of kind of that level of human interaction, the better it is for everybody.
This has been a great conversation about AI in 2024 and how it's different in 2025. On an individual level, on a personal level, for the specific security operator, what's your piece of advice for that individual as they think about becoming more fluent in AI in 2025?
So the best thing an individual can do, right? So if you're a security manager, start using AI, right? Put ChatGPT on your phone. Use Copilot on your Office 365. Just try it out. Experience it. A lot of people are a little bit put off by some of the new technology and new apps. Give them a try. One, they're fun, right? There's so many really interesting things you can do just by playing with the technology. And the more familiar you get with it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it, and the easier it will be to start explaining to the folks who work for you and to your stakeholders, your other stakeholders, what this technology can do, how it can benefit your overall security posture, and why it's new and different and beneficial and valuable to embrace going forward.
As security teams think about AI in their operations in 2025, what resources, where can they look to try to get more information?
There are some really good websites like Listed AI and others that do a good job of just helping you understand how this industry is evolving more broadly than just security, right? AI writ large. And then more and more of the security trade publications are spending time highlighting machine learning and AI-based features. Pay attention to those. You can find them on their websites. There's a lot of articles that are written about it. This is the future. There is no doubt about it. So the more you as a security professional can learn, understand, and embrace, the better position you'll be for 2025 and beyond.
Mike, how should security professionals get a better understanding of what technology is really using AI?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a tremendous hype cycle around AI. The best thing that anybody can do, and I think what security professionals frequently do, is talk to their trusted friends and advisors. Understand what experiences they might have had already with products that utilize AI or claim to utilize AI. Go to the trade shows. Check out the new features, new technologies. Make sure that they're living up to the hype. Test them. The industry might have some catching up to do in terms of test protocols and kind of well understood third-party testing, but you can do your own testing. You can evaluate these systems, and any supplier, any manufacturer, any vendor who isn't completely comfortable allowing you to really put the technology through its paces, move on to the next one. I'm excited about 2025. As a techie, this is the year that we're really going to see AI kind of step into its own. It's a step function improvement over where our industry has been for decades, and I personally find that really exciting. It's enabling capabilities that never existed before, and I think it's going to change a lot of things for the better.
Thank you for listening to Beyond the Threshold. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe and share the podcast with others who care about creating safer communities. Stay tuned for more expert insights and thought-provoking discussions in our next episode. Until then, thanks for going beyond the threshold with us. Stay safe.